assume you know you're in the right lecture. You're here to learn about my method called the Schwab Total Method for conscious connected breathing and body, mind, spiritual, cognitive, behavioral work. And I'm very glad to have you here this morning because we're such a small group as compared to last night where we were packed in the room. We'll get a chance to do a lot more, and of course you can have a lot more individualized attention than I was able to do last night, or if we were packed in here today. So by being here today, you've shown that you're not like the cattle in that cartoon. I guess you've been looking at it, some of you, and laughing about it. You can see that it is a big herd of cattle, and they're all just kind of going along in the same direction. And at the bottom, the caption says, "As if we all knew where we're going." And I love to use that because it illustrates that that is exactly what happens with most people. Most people kind of get just in a direction, don't think too much about it, and keep going in that direction, whether or not it's what they really want and who they really are, just like those cattle, and never stop to take a breath and to identify who they are and what they want and what they're on this earth and in this life to do. What is their purpose? And so by being here today, you've indicated that you're not like those cattle, because you certainly know that you wanted to do this, and I'm going to give you some very powerful skills and knowledge today so that you can do that for yourself. What I call this process is positive self-identity and self-defined success. And I'm going to give you an overview of this process with some specific skills today that you can take with you and use for yourself at home. You have in the packets that I've given you on your seats an article that I've written. You can take all of that home. And in that article, you do have an outline of the process and some comments about it. The article was written for a women's magazine, and they did greatly edit it, but it does get all of the important points across. And of course, even though it's written for women and geared to women, it's absolutely for men and works for men too, so you men might want to edit it and put in whatever words apply for you when you're using it. In addition, in the packet, you have a flyer that talks about our upcoming Introduction to Conscious Connected Breathing and our one-day seminar where you can gain some more information, additional steps than I can give you here this morning, and in more depth to continue working with this kind of a program. So I'm going to just list the steps for you and then discuss the ones that I will go into for you in depth this morning. Step one is self-identity, which also requires values clarification. This is a very important step because without self-identity, do you even know anything about where you're going or where you might want to go or what your purpose is here? And of course, if you don't have a clear sense of self-identity, does it make any sense to talk about self-esteem? Because if you don't know the answer to who am I, what is the purpose of even thinking about self-esteem? Now, we're not going to go into this morning a lot about self-identity. I do that in the one day, but I'll just give you some basics about it. Step 2 is self-esteem, which includes a clear knowledge and choice of beliefs, thoughts, attitudes, and their subsequent feelings, behaviors, and results. And I will talk a bit about that today. 3 is to define your concept of success in all major life areas. And what is your life purpose? Have you ever thought about what is your definition and your concept of success? Do you even have a concept? What do most people think about when you say, she's successful or he's successful? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? It's a dollar sign. Yes, a dollar sign, isn't it? Because most people think of the word success in terms of money. If someone has a lot of money, they're successful. And what you're going to learn here this morning is that that isn't necessarily true. And sometimes people making or having the most money are the least successful in their lives in all the other, or many of the other life areas. So it's important to have balance. And I'm going to say a lot about balance when we get to the Wheel of Life. The Wheel of Life is, in fact, the next step. And I'm going to talk to you about what our concept is of the Wheel of Life, what it is, what the 6 areas are, and how you determine who you are and what you want in those 6 areas, which gets us to step 5, which is goal setting. Goal setting is actually identifying, stating, and developing skills to attain your goals, and then redefining your goals throughout your life. Because life is not, hopefully, static. If you're static, what happens? You eventually just die, right? Life is about growth and change. It's constant growth and constant change. So as you attain a particular goal, what do? You set a new goal. And you keep setting goals throughout your life. And you can see I have a number of placards that I have displayed here for you to look at. And one of them says goal setting is the strongest force for self-motivation. I'm going to give you a definition for motivation. When people say they're not motivated, what's happening is usually that they don't have any goals. They don't have a clear sense of identity, high self-esteem, and so they certainly don't know how to set any goals. They haven't clarified their values. They're in conflict. And so, of course, they have no motivation. Motivation has to come from within, not from without. You don't get motivated because somebody else is inspiring you or giving to you or offering you something. You know, it's like the carrot in front of the donkey. You know, if the donkey is hungry, yeah, that donkey will keep going. But what happens when the donkey isn't hungry? He stops. So if you work somewhere where they have some incentive program and you think you might get a raise or you might get more time off or, you know, you might win a trip, you know, to the Bahamas if you sell X amount or a contest in your company, maybe you'll be motivated if you really want to do that and you want to achieve that. But the chances are that eventually you get demotivated because external motivations don't work very long. You get bored. You begin looking around for another job, for some other company to be with. The other kind of motivation, there are 3 kinds besides incentive, which is what that is called, is force. You know, if somebody has a gun to your head, you'll probably do what that person is telling you to do, right? So force usually absolutely works, but that isn't what we're talking about here. We're talking about learning to have autonomy and freedom. and health, so that we're not talking about force as a motivation, and hopefully you'll never encounter force, because we don't want to be under any kind of external force. We want our freedom. The third kind of motivation, and the only kind that really works, is the internalized motivation of your own goals program that you set yourself, that you have come to on your own. Not because your boss tells you your quota is to sell 3 million this year, no, but because you have looked at what your own goals are in your life in all 6 major life areas, including your career and finance, and you'll see that when I put up the Wheel of Life, and that you have determined that 3 million or whatever is your goal to do for ABC, XYZ reasons, and then you know you have those reasons, and what you're selling, of course, is meaningful to you, and you know people need and want it, and you only sell it when it's mutually beneficial and satisfactory, right, to you both, and you come from high integrity, and that is your goal. That is when you achieve that kind of a goal, or any kind of goal, when it's your own. Step 6, then, is communication and negotiation. And these skills, which we call social skills, interpersonal skills, interactive skills, are also very important for success, because we're all human beings, and we live with other human beings, we work with other human beings, and we need to know those skills in order to accomplish what we want to accomplish in the universe. Step 8 is plan of action, learning to utilize a written plan of action. How many of you have any kind of a plan of action in your life? Okay. And a written plan? Okay. So it's very important to have a written plan of action. The reason for that is because the way that we learn is by spaced repetition and multiple senses, so that we need to be able to see, hear, and have the kinesthetic, the touch sense as well, as more influence and effect on us for learning. You know yourself that I see many of you taking notes, that when you take notes, if you just leave them and forget them, you'll forget everything probably that's in them. You might remember 1 or 2 points. If you go back to them and you read them over and over, if you rewrite them, if you make them your own, and further, if you say them out loud, if you read them into a tape recorder and you play the tape recorder back, you've got multiple senses working. And that is really how you learn. That is why anything that you do, if you take one course and you expect to go to that course and have that work for you and come home and you're going to know it, forget it. You're not going to. You're going to lose it. People go and pay hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars to take a course. I think it's like up to $1,000 a day for courses at AMA, for example, nowadays, American Management Association. Some of them are even higher, right? You take that course and you leave, you forget everything that's in it. However, if you take notes, you have a lesson manual that has what was said in the course with you. You have tapes, audio tapes to listen to. You hear them. Then you can retain. You can learn and retain the material. That's why our programs, and you see that I have one displayed here, that's our goal setting program, they come just packaged like that. They come with audio cassette tapes, a lesson manual, and your own personalized plan of action. Of course, we conveniently give you your own stereo headset and a beautiful attaché case for it all to come in. But the reason for that is just what I'm talking about, that you need the three, the multiple, the audio, the visual, and the kinesthetic, the touch sense, in order to learn these skills and to do them. And then you need the plan of action, the written plan of action. Spaced repetition is also something that's very important. So if you want to learn anything, don't think that you're going to learn it by doing it once. Highly unlikely. You know yourself, if you want to memorize a telephone number, you need to write it down, you need to say it several times out loud, you need to visualize it in your mind, and after you've done that, usually 6 times, takes 6 times, you will memorize it. You know, if you want to be good at names, meeting people and remembering their names, for example, you know you must say that name out loud, and you must say it several times, 6 usually, and repeat the name. It also helps to visualize the face of the person and put the face with the name and to visualize the name. And I'm going to teach you, if you haven't had experience with visualization, that's one of our steps and what that means, so that you know that it takes spaced repetition to learn anything. Step 9 is learning to balance body, mind, emotions, and spirituality. Learning conscious connected breathing, assertiveness, affirmations, visualizations, sentence stems, mirror work, and other skills. And I'll go into some of those this morning. Step 10 is effective time management. Now, the reason that that is important is that we all have 24 hours a day, but I'm sure you understand and you would agree that how you organize and manage and even control your time has a lot to do with your success. And once you are setting goals and achieving goals in all 6 major life areas, you begin to realize that your time is very precious, and you want to be able to manage your time in an effective way. That's why time management is very important, and we even have a program like this one on just time management. So this morning, I'm going to spend some time on conscious connected breathing, especially for those of you who weren't here last night. And even if you were, it's important to review it and to be able to do this over and over again until you master it, because like anything else, conscious connected breathing takes practice, spaced repetition, until you learn how to accomplish it. I will also give you a definition of success, and you can compare that with your own if you have one, or the ideas you've had about success, and how you might want to redefine success for yourself. And I will talk about the wheel of life and have you actually do an exercise and be able to come to an understanding and be able to utilize what that means for you. And I will go into a little bit about self-esteem and the importance of that, and why you need to be able to do that for your own optimal health and success. And then we will do something on affirmation and visualization to take you right up to goal setting. Now, of course, there's a lot more to it than I'm going to be able to do today. And that's why I recommend, if you really feel that this program speaks to you and is going to work for you, that you get some more experience with it. Take some more of our trainings, for example, and be able to make this your own and do it for yourself. So let's look at conscious connected breathing.
Do you have workshops in New York?
Yes, we do. The blue flyer that you're given was on your seat tells about the upcoming workshops we have in April, and if you put your name on the mailing list, you can get on the mailing list to know about future workshops. So, excuse me? How long are they? They vary. The intro to conscious connected breathing on April 21st is 2 hours, okay? So, how many of you are from New York? Yes, New Jersey, New York. Okay, primarily. All right, and as you can see, this is being taped by New Life. If you wanted to buy the tapes are going to be available downstairs to buy, which again will give you a way to continue with what you've heard this morning. Should you think that and realize this is really valuable for you, you can then play that tape over and over for the skills that I'll be able to cover this morning with you. So, conscious connected breathing, also known as rebirthing, is an intuitive act of relearning how to breathe from the breath itself. It involves connecting your inhale with your exhale in a relaxed, intuitive rhythm until the inner breath, which is the spirit and source of breath itself, is merged with oxygen, air, the outer breath, the physical body, external reality. So that you're actually accomplishing an integration of your body, your mind, your spirit with external reality. How many of you have had experience with conscious connected breathing or rebirthing? Okay. So most of you have not. Fine. So conscious connected breathing then merges spirit and matter, your body, in a simple scientific method of spiritual breathing to bring you back to your highest self with conscious awareness. I use spirituality here in a universal sense. It's not any particularistic sense. It's not a particular religion. It's not some kind of cult. You don't need to follow any guru or any master in order to do this. You can learn this and do this for yourself. That is your goal ultimately, to become strong physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and become autonomous. So, how we mean spiritual here is your essence, your source, your infinite, your interconnectedness, acts of loving kindness to yourself and to others. So it's a recognition that you, as a human being, are a spiritual being. You're a part of higher consciousness. You're connected to every other human being in spirituality. And you thereby learn more to be more kind to yourself and to others, and to be able to receive acts of loving kindness. Conscious connected breathing strengthens your life urge and weakens your death urge. So you are actually youthing yourself, not aging yourself. This is a very important concept. You might have heard of this from other people. Deepak Chopra speaks a lot about this kind of thing in his books and in his lectures as well. And there is a lot of documented literature for the scientific underpinning and rationale behind why this works. I give out a bibliography at my intro and at my one-day seminar so that if you want to go to the literature and read about this and see why this works, you can actually do that. And happily, conscious connected breathing and the power of the mind over the body is coming to traditional medicine and traditional healing as well. So there's a lot in the literature and the bibliography that I give out that is actually written by and appears in traditional medicine journals and by traditional medicine people. And I think this is very important, that we have an integration of traditional medicine with so-called New Life, as we're doing here at the New Life Conference, and what also is sometimes known as New Age medicine, or holistic medicine, non-traditional, alternative medicine. There are many words and ways to look at this, so that what I'm giving you is a combination of those. Your body and spirit, then, with doing conscious connected breathing, become connected, purified, creating love, truth, patience, and kindness, mercy, forgiveness, intelligent discipline, wisdom for yourself and for others. You know that when you are out of touch with your body and your spirituality, you're ill at ease. You have dis-ease, which can become disease. You need an integration of your mind, your physical body, your spirituality, and your emotions in order to be healthy. Conscious connected breathing, then, is letting go of fear and transcending differences. You come into a state of harmony with yourself and with all other living beings. You actually come to learn to celebrate differences, certainly to be non-judgmental, and to be able to allow for who other human beings are, and then even to celebrate them, to enjoy them, to enjoy the vast variety, the abundance that we have in this universe. You create understanding of yourself and of others. You create a path of joy, ecstatic knowledge, with all parts of your being in integration, health, and ease. When conscious connected breathing is combined with the cognitive behavioral program that I'm presenting to you, it is a powerful, if not the most powerful, it's the most powerful method I have ever found for promoting health, for realizing successful, loving relationships, for increasing your energy, your joy, your aliveness, because anything that doesn't increase aliveness is what? Advancing death, your death urge, right? for increasing aliveness, for achieving a balanced and a constant state of growth and harmony and satisfaction in all 6 major life areas. You know, it's very interesting to me that most people don't believe that they're entitled to happiness. Have you ever seen that or thought of that or observed that? Maybe in yourselves and others? Yeah, and you know, even in the United States Constitution it says that we're entitled to what? The pursuit of happiness, right? Yeah, that's really amazing. Most people don't think so. You have the right to happiness, to harmony, to peace, to joy, to love, to feeling ecstasy with life, to waking up each day and saying, I'm rejoicing in this day. You know, I have a car service, a corporate car service that my company uses, and I took a car here with all these supplies this morning. I was so delighted to get into this car. I just felt the energy in this car, that this driver was a positive, alive, happy, joyful person. Happy to be here in this country. He's from Peru. You know, I asked him if he'd been to Machu Picchu, and he told me that he hadn't. He really would love to go back. He's very young and be able to go. And I asked him, you know, where did you get this positive attitude that you have to life? And he said, well, my grandfather gave it to me and my family. And we all have this attitude. And I said, that is wonderful. I said, do you know where I'm going this morning? I'm going to give a lecture and a workshop just on this kind of subject. And I think it's so delightful to see you and be with you and have you drive me there this morning. So now I would like to demonstrate this breathing system for you. First, what's involved is that you need to learn to do what I call deep, relaxed breathing. And I will demonstrate that for you. And then you need to learn the conscious, connected breathing. And I will demonstrate that. And then I'm going to have you actually do it yourselves and become aware of what's going on with your breath and your body. I would like to focus on self-esteem. And, you know, you do not have to be in very low self-esteem and miserable to raise your self-esteem. We can always raise our self-esteem. I am always working on raising my own self-esteem. Self-esteem is actually what I believe and think about myself. It's not what anybody else thinks of me. Doesn't matter, really, in terms of my self-esteem, what anybody else thinks of me. It matters what I think about myself. That is why values clarification is so important. Most people have never done it. They haven't examined what their values are, and they don't really know. I see nodding of heads that is true for most of you. So that self-esteem, then, is not something that is competitive or comparative. You don't have to be miserable to raise your self-esteem, as I've said. You can always raise it. We need to have healthy self-interest. That's very, very important. That doesn't mean selfishness. It doesn't mean being for myself alone, but for myself first. Because only when I take care of myself, can I then give anything to others? I need to be healthy in my mind, body, spirit before I can give much to anybody else. So as the placard up here says, self-esteem means feelings of personal worth, personal competence, self-confidence, self-respect, self-trust and integrity, my right to happiness. Remember I said we have a right to happiness, joy, and serenity, and you can't have self-esteem if you don't know that. And my right to success, that too. You have a right to success. And if you don't know that, you don't have self-esteem. Now we're going to look at what is success. And I have a placard here with, as I've told you, our definition. Success is the progressive realization of predetermined, worthwhile, personal goals. That definition was actually coined by a man named Paul J. Meyer, who is a very powerful man who's created a lot of success programs, and I'm a part of actually that company and use a lot of those principles. They're cognitive behavioral principles. And what does this mean? This means that success is not a one-time shot, is it? You say, oh, he's successful, she's successful. What does that mean? As we said earlier today, most people think of that dollar sign, you know. Well, success is not a one thing, first of all. It's progressive, because life is progressive. You are ongoing, you are growing, you are constantly changing. Success also means that your goals are predetermined. You have thought about them. You have chosen them freely. They're not like those cattle just walking along with your eyes closed, you know, or they're not your mothers, your fathers, your spouses, you know, your boss's goals. They're personal goals that you have predetermined and as being worthwhile to you, your values. And you have to know what that is in order to achieve success. So that's the first and most important thing to consider about success is this definition. Now, there's another part to it, and I mentioned this before, and that is the wheel of life. And here's the wheel of life. It's a circle with a tiny circle in the center that says you, but you want to put your name in there or something that means you to you. And there are 6 areas, pieces of this pie in this circle. Physical and health, mental and education, family and home, spiritual and ethical, social and cultural, and financial and career. Each one of those major life areas is important to human beings. You know that if you don't have satisfaction in these areas, you don't feel successful, do you? And what I'd all like you to do, and I see you've all made the circle and you're drawing the hub, putting your name in the middle, is to think of you in the center of zero potential. That's you at birth, or right now, because you're starting, right? Today is the first day of the rest of your life, or as one of these placards says, you are not limited to one chance. Every day you are blessed with a new beginning. Every moment you are blessed with a new beginning. So I'd like you to consider 0% here in the center and 100% out on the periphery of the circle. okay? The perimeter, I should say. And in each of these areas, I want you to put a dot indicating your percent of your satisfaction with your life in that area. For example, in your spiritual and ethical, are you 0% satisfied? Are you 10? Are you 50%? Are you 100%? Put the dot where you think it needs to be. And do that for each of these areas. Put a dot. And then connect those dots. Now, when you connect them, that is your wheel of life right now at this moment in time. Now, that doesn't mean it's forever, does it? Because you can change it with these skills in this program. So, what does your circle look like? Is it lopsided? Is it top-heavy in one area and not in others? Is there some area you've been really concentrating on? You know, I see a lot of CEOs in consultation, and I find that, my goodness, they've achieved status in their profession. They're making all kinds of those dollar signs, you know. And what's the rest of their life? Their physical and health is usually shot. You know, it's nowheresville. Their family and home is usually suffering. Probably their spiritual and ethical, too. And maybe a little bit in the other they have, in the other areas, right? And they are ill. They are diseased, okay, unhealthy. So that, and the same is true, by the way. I've counseled over the years, I've been a therapist for 23 years, many women who chose to stay home, not so many anymore, although that's beginning to happen in the late 90s again, very interestingly. But this used to be happening much more. Women who would stay home and raise their children, and the children would grow up and go off, and what happened? Just like the CEOs were depressed who come to me, when they've achieved height in this one area and nothing in the others, the women were depressed and are depressed because they've got one area and then suddenly they don't have any of the others, do they? So what happens is that you arrive at depression, anxiety, all kinds of quote-unquote mental illness, physical illness, when you are not doing this kind of a program for yourself in your life and not in balance. Luckily, you can change this, because here's the next step. The next step is that the beliefs that we have learned create our thoughts, and our thoughts create our attitudes, which are simply habits of thought, and our attitudes create our feelings, our emotions, and our feelings then create our actions or inactions, our behavior, and our behavior gets our results. And as you see on this chart, the arrows going down from ideas to think to act to results. And of course the other things I mentioned in between. You can also make the arrows go the other way, because you could look at any result in your life and backtrack it. Why do I have this result? What did I do or not do? What did I feel? What was my attitude? What did I think? And what was my belief? And you'll know why you have that result. Okay? That, in a nutshell, is what cognitive theory is all about. So, what do you need to do? Obviously, you need to examine your beliefs and then examine your thoughts. And you know, we have automatic thoughts. Like Deepak Chopra said, one of the lectures I heard of his, that he estimates we have 66,000 thoughts a day. Most of those thoughts are negative. We live in a very negative society, in a negative culture. Do you turn on the TV news? Good way to get negatived up to here.
It does not listen to such negative news night after night.
How?
Go to bed and see burning.
Yeah, exactly. Think of watching that right before you go to sleep.
And that's why I've done for 30 years.
Holy cow, 30 years of all of that. Think of what your sleep is all about. Because we dream,
That's what
you know?
I think it's the murder.
Yeah. Now, do you want your dreams? You know, dreams are so important. And daydreams are important. Our imagination is so important. You know, I didn't put up this other saying that, actually, this is a quote of also Paul J. Meyer. Whatever you vividly imagine, ardently desire, sincerely believe, and enthusiastically act upon must inevitably come to pass. Everything in your life is what you're imagining, desiring, believing, and acting upon, or not acting upon. That, too, is cognitive theory in a nutshell. Okay? So, imagination and dreaming is so important. But do you want your imagination and your dreams to be all about what's on the 10 o'clock news? Yeah. You want to create your dreams and your daydreams to be what you want them to be, to change your beliefs to beliefs that work for you in this world that you choose to be in this time, where you have manifested your physical body in this life, right? In this place. So you can change all of those. And you know what? Then your potential is virtually unlimited. Human potential is unlimited. And it is never too late unless you think it is. I have people coming to me at 25 and telling me it's too late. You know? It's never too late. So, most people set their aspirations far too low for themselves in this life. There's abundance in the universe, and we are created with unlimited potential. So now what I'd like to go to is something that we call everything I ever wanted. And what I'd like you to do is to take a sheet of paper, turn over one of the ones I gave you if you don't have, and write at the top your name or something that indicates you to you. And write at the top of the sheet, everything I ever wanted. That's the heading of the page. And I'm going to put this Wheel of Life back up here for you to refer to. And I'd like you to, referring to that sheet, jogging your imagination, imagine you're back in the 3rd grade. You're 8 years old. And then as you do this, you can then imagine that you're 10, 12 years old, 15, many young ages, all right? And what you used to want, everything you ever wanted. And I just want you to start writing as fast as you can a list of everything you ever wanted in any or all of these life areas, anything you think of. I'm going to give you just a minute. Okay, the minute is up. Now I noticed that some of you were writing fast and furious, some of you were really stymied and thinking. Notice what you were doing and what was happening, you know. most of us have our imagination knocked out of us, as I said, by the time we're in the third grade, you know. We're forced into doing and being whoever somebody wants us to do or be. Our mother, our father, our teachers, our minister, our priest, our rabbi, our piano teacher, I don't know, somebody got you, didn't they? Or some bodies. And you closed off. Yeah, look at the nodding bodies here. Well, you can reopen that again. You can set your imagination free. In fact, that's the name of one of the lessons in that lesson program that you see displayed there, because that is very, very important. To set your imagination free is a basic for achieving success. So look at the stuff that you wrote, and of course you're going to get to where you're going to examine, is this really what you want? Or are you just writing stuff down that's been drilled into you? And some of that may change. Now, what I'm going to do is ask you to pick one of those things, and I want you to write it in the form of a goal. For example, if something that you wrote down was, I want to be a teacher of third grade children. As I said, you were in the third grade, you know, maybe that was your favorite grade. It's one of my favorite grades. I loved my third grade teacher, Miss Carson. I'll never forget her. Her name is now on tape. So, pick one of the things you wrote and write it in the form of a goal. For example, if you said, I want to be a third grade teacher, you would write down, I am a third grade teacher by, and you want to think about, well, what would it take you to become this third grade teacher? You know, would it take you a year of graduate work? You know, it'll take you a year to get your license to do this in New York State. So you're writing down your goal, and it's always good to date your goal, to have what I call a lifeline. I never use that word deadline. Isn't that an awful word? You're going to be dead by the time that, or dead if you don't do it? What an awful word. I use the word lifeline, okay? So your lifeline to that goal is, for example, June 15th of 1997. I am a third grade teacher. That's your goal, stated. Now, you always state your goal in a present tense because it's more powerful. Your mind can't absorb and grasp anything in a future tense. Only grasps present tense.
Your mind only grasps.
Yes, present tense. Present tense. How many of you have your goal written down? Anybody who doesn't? Great. Now I'm going to teach you two very powerful skills for achieving that goal, part of this 10-step program. The first one is affirmation. Now, you may have heard about affirmations. How many of you have heard about them? I don't know how you've been doing them, but I'm going to tell you the powerful way to do this skill. Okay, first I'll give you a definition. An affirmation is an idea that we introduce to our consciousness to make true, as you see on that placard. So, we are introducing ideas into our consciousness and making them true all day, every day, aren't we? And all night, every night in our dreams. And you can notice what they are. Are they negative or are they positive? Most of them are probably negative. I'm not good enough. I'm not going to make that. I'm not going to get that job. I can't do that. My boss doesn't think I'm any good. My boss thinks I'm lousy, doesn't show me appreciation, so I'm lousy. Those are all negative affirmations, and they're all false. They're all false. The truth is that you are a unique, precious, wonderful person in this universe. There's no one else like you. Look around the room. Does anyone else look like you here? Does anyone look like me? There's only one of me. There's only one of you. And you are here for a reason, and you need to determine that purpose for yourself. Purpose is part of success. Okay? So, you need to introduce positive affirmations. And how you need to do that is by stopping the negatives consciously, using our automatic thought sheet process to learn to identify your automatic thoughts, stopping the most powerful ones that have been ruining and governing your life, changing those to positives, and stating them all in present tense with I statement and your name after it. For example, what's your name? Pam. If this were your goal, and I'm not saying it is, I, Pam, am a marvelous third-grade teacher, reaching the kids with wonderful stuff beginning on June 25th of 1996. Okay? So you do your affirmations always in the present tense. Now, the way you also do them is verbally out loud. Remember those multiple senses and spaced repetition? You write them down. You post them on your visor in your car, on your mirror, in your purse, in your wallet. Take them out and read them and look at them over and over. Spaced repetition. You say them into a tape recorder. You play them back. Okay? Because affirmations are powerful. You've been doing them all your life. It's why you are where you are today. Okay? So, the second most powerful technique known to psychology today is visualization. I'll put that placard up for you to see. The definition is to picture mentally and experience ideas, events, and circumstances, objects that exist in the future as if they exist in the present. This is the only time the affirmations and the visualizations that you use in as if, as well as act as if. You know, if you're afraid, you take your breaths, you act as if everything is fine and wonderful, and you go fear forward. Okay? You do your affirmations, your visualizations. All right? So when you visualize, it's always, again, in the present, in the present. Now, this means making a movie in your mind. And you are the writer, the producer, the director, and the actor in your movie, because you are in your life anyway, aren't you? Unless you give up your power to somebody else, right? You're the writer, producer, director, and actor in the movie of your life. So you do a visualization for what you want to happen. And you do it as if it's happening in the present, and you see it in as much detail as you possibly can. You see it with details, what you're wearing, who's there, where you are, what the weather is, that's applicable, whatever. And you create this movie. Okay? And now you're ready for the actual goal setting with your plan of action. And that's where we take you in our one-day seminar, and also utilizing that program there on the table. And any part of these skills that you use, however, I want to emphasize, are going to help you with health in your life, physical body, your mind, with your goals, and with your success. Any of them that you use will help you. So I hope you found this helpful today, and if you have any questions,